We are back with the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin. He's Gordon. You're going to have to wait another day for Lincoln. I'm sorry about that. We recorded yesterday. Had some technical hiccups, but we had plenty of track to watch. Gordon, I'm not even going to ask how you're feeling. I know how you're feeling. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about the Sixers.
This is a goddamn track podcast now, all right? That's all it is. This is just a track podcast. I don't even want to talk about it.
Okay.
But
we won't
here's
talk about
the thing. Here's the thing, Kevin. Here's the thing. I have a problem, all right? Sports is my problem, and I have a really bad problem with benefit of the doubt. I give way too much benefit of the doubt to everything I love. Way too much. You know what I did last night? I was busy looking up all the teams that have gone down 0-2 in the playoffs and gone on to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
And I was like trying to talk myself into it. You know who is the most recent team to win 0-2? The Toronto Raptors last year against the Bucks.
Yeah. They almost went down 3-0.
Yeah. And then I was thinking, all right, well, they didn't go down 0-2 the way the Sixers went down 0-2. Like, at least they probably lost 2 close games and they came back. No. Their first game, they lost by like 8 or 9. Sixers' first game, they lost by 8 or 9. The second game, the Toronto Raptors got blown out. Second game, Sixers just got blown out. So now I'm like talking myself into it again. Maybe, I mean, the Sixers world is all about right now, it's the end of the world and we're firing everyone, blow up the team, fire everyone. And I just hate that mentality because I don't like firing people because I like people. But I think you can't be on the deathbed or like on the edge of a cliff until you're 1 loss away, right? I feel like as long as you always keep 2 losses away from being eliminated, you're still okay. Is that a fair assessment? You're not officially out of it until you're on 1 loss and you're out.
Yeah, things change really quickly in series. You know, they always say, the saying always goes in the NBA, the series doesn't begin until the home team loses a game. And that's never going to happen because neither of these teams are playing at home. So this season never really happened.
That's a good point. So the home team has never lost. So I don't know, man. It is messing with my mental health though. Yesterday was a bad day for Philadelphia sports fans. Start off with the Phillies losing to Boston in Fenway. Then the Sixers lose to Boston in Orlando. And then the Flyers lost to Montreal in the NHL bubble. So, man, I need to turn this into a track podcast. What am I doing with my life? Just only think about track.
Here,
what happened in track?
Let's go.
Can you tell me?
Let's go back to before we do that, let's go back to your bread and butter, which is NCAA cross country. There was some NCAA news yesterday. Why don't you break that down for us? Get us back on track. Get you to a safe spot here.
So the great Brett McMurphy, who everyone should follow, he is a stadium reporter, works for the stadium, basically covers college football. He's the one who's been keeping us updated about conference cancellations, etc. He tweeted out yesterday, NCAA Division I Council votes to allow fall sport student athletes to compete in any amount of competitions this year, and it will not count as a year of eligibility. Now, the Board of Governors, the ones we all love, the Board of Governors need to still approve it on Friday, but they're likely to approve it because they voted on it to allow it. But what that means is the Big 12 athletes, they can run, and it's not going to count as a year of eligibility. So Isaiah Rodriguez, the top people from Iowa State, all the top Arkansas guys, they can, NC State women, like Caitlin Tui, she can race this fall, and it won't count as a year of eligibility. She can race and run ACCs, and then next year she'll be a freshman, which is great news for these teams that like are being kind of forced into running cross country, even though there's no NCAA championship. So that's good news. And it definitely opens up the door for maybe somewhat of a cross-country season, right? Because if these 3 Power 5 conferences, Big 12, SEC, and ACC, do go forward with having cross-country, there's enough talent in those 3 conferences to at least make some of the competition interesting. And now knowing that the best runners will be allowed to run without wasting a year, it's going to make it interesting. Like, we're going to be able to see, like, Eastside Rodriguez go up against, Amon Kemboy of Arkansas and Caitlin Tui. We're going to see NC State run maybe. Like, we thought, now sure, we don't get to see him go against New Mexico. We don't get to see him go against Stanford. But, hey, it'll be like a good glorified invite with everyone actually running. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think it's a good decision that they made because you wouldn't want to penalize people for running in this season. It's not a real season. Let's just be honest. Even if, say, everything goes perfect from here on out and they're able to they don't cancel any more meets. Like, everything stays as is, which would be, I think you'd agree, probably long odds that everything stays perfectly as is. It's still not a real season. And I don't think it would be fair to take a year of eligibility from somebody when they can't compete for a national championship and can't have a normal regular season. In some of the team sports, maybe you could argue, they can have a regular season because they're able to still compete against their conference foes head to head. But in our world of cross country, it's not a normal regular season when you can't go to Nuttycombe, you can't go to pre-nats, you can't have that sort of competition. So I think it's a good decision. Obviously, still wait and see on how this actually comes to fruition and if they still decide to compete. But if they're going to have a weird schedule, it makes sense to have it not count against their eligibility.
So right now there are 6 conferences still who have yet to cancel. Those 3 Power 5 conferences, Big 12, SEC, and ACC. But there's also 3 other conferences that are still going forward. The American Conference, which has Tulsa, I believe, that's like one of the top teams, Tulsa. The Conference USA, which has UTEP and Middle Tennessee State. And then the Sun Belt, which I'm not sure who the best team out of the Sun Belt is. They're not really a big cross-country school. And then the service academies, Army, Navy, Air Force. But that's basically 70 teams total on the men, 78 on the women. And I was talking to Dave Smith yesterday after this news broke. I mean, he's thrilled because now he doesn't have to worry about, like I said, eligibility issues of running a top team because he can actually try to win a Big 12 title and not feel bad about screwing up NCAA hopes down the road. But then he also said how he's going to have a cross-country season and have meets. Like, the Cowboy Jamboree is going to happen, right? And he has been quoted by reporters a week ago that obviously Oklahoma State was supposed to be the host of NCAAs on November 21st. He is trying very hard and like picking up the phone, calling coaches to try to put together a Power 5 basically invite on November 21st. Like, obviously there's a lot of rules and technicalities to see if he can make it happen. But if he can make it happen, they're going to try to have like a 3-conference championship. I mean, it's not going to be a championship. It'll be an invite, but which will be cool, right? And have that on November 21st.
Are you going to redo your rankings? Or are you just going to delete the other teams and re-rack them with just these conferences?
No, we'll still keep the rankings with BYU and NAU at the top. No, BYU and NAU, they want to race each other, so we might be able to. If we do find a way to have these 6 conferences still compete and some of these other conferences not compete, I think I'll still create the rankings. Like, if BYU and NAU do a little dual meet on their own, like on their own dime, like just meet halfway between the 2 cities, it'll be like the way you do college football rankings. Like, not all the teams play each other, but you still put that undefeated Boise State there for some until they lose. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It'll be interesting. But yeah, I mean, basically the chance of having NC State race Oklahoma State race Arkansas is more likely now than it was 24 hours ago, which is cool.
Yeah. You're talking about a fully equipped NC State and a fully equipped Ark, because they may have raced before, but it would not have been with their A squads. I think we have to put Arkansas as a favorite for the men's title and NC State as the favorite for the Power 3+3 women's title.
I think so.
I don't
We
want to
also
give
have
away
to
the rankings too much, but
yeah, I mean, I think people know Arkansas and NC State are good. So maybe not many people know Arkansas is good because Arkansas finished like 30th last year, right?
well,
They're
you've been
like
talking
30th or
about
20.
this though
Yeah.
you've been talking about Arkansas for several months now, and if people are paying attention to NCAA cross country, I'm assuming they've listened to you at some point. There's not that many cross country media outlets out there.
I mean, they basically got every single transfer that can be good. So their entire top 5 will be 4 transfers and 1 guy who redshirted last year. So that's why they were 30th because no one on
Yeah,
that 30th place squad is basically going to be in their top 5.
yeah. Something to watch for. I know teams are clamoring to race. I know there's a lot of women's programs that are trying to organize something, even if it's just virtual, to get out there and race. But if the kids are on campus and staying on campus, then I think there's an appetite to, because they were prepped, they were ready to go. And it's late August. I know we always think of cross country as like, oh, it takes forever to get going, but they're about a month away from a big invitational weekend, and then a couple more weeks after that away from conference. So they're in good shape. If they were preparing to run this year, it's not like they're going to get out of shape or they got out of shape in the 1 week when they found out, the season's not going to be the same. I think they're ready to go and ready to ramp up if need be.
Yeah, and I think obviously NCAA canceling the championship sucks, and I think about like NXN canceling their championship for the high school kids. That
Yeah.
sucks. I mean, hey, maybe call this a pipe dream, but maybe like Dave Smith just says fuck it, and he's like, all right,
Only
hey
allowing
guys,
us.
everyone come to Stillwater on November 21st. You know what? High school kids, come on down. We'll put on a little high school meet, right? And we have basically a de facto high school championship and a de facto cross country championship. You find all of a sudden you see like 5, 7 athletes from BYU representing the BYU track club who just happen to also be on the cross country team. You have the NAU track club, right? You have these unofficial cross country teams for the schools that can't compete, and then you have the official teams that can compete, and see what happens.
Did you just invite a whole bunch of people over to Dave Smith's party? Is that what just happened?
Yeah, yeah, he has a big
High
enough
school
property.
kids, just everybody, just show up. Show up in Stillwater. It's large enough. It can accommodate everybody. No.
I have this weird vision that I feel like everyone that lives in, I feel like Dave Smith, if I had to visualize what his house looks like, I feel like he lives like on a ranch. That's what I picture. Not like just like a very open, like in the middle of nowhere, like giant house. But maybe not. Maybe
Have you
just
been to
lives in like,
Stillwater?
no, I've never been. Is it crowded?
No. No.
No. Okay.
It's not very big, so I think you could be right. And then all those videos, you've seen those. I mean, you've seen their course, right? I mean, every course is out in the middle of nowhere, so that's
Yeah.
in college cross country. So that's not saying much, but it definitely has a hey, we're kind of out there feel. Stillwater, Oklahoma, population 50,000,
Wow.
and there's
It's not a
50,000
lot of
people in your
people.
apartment complex. Yeah,
Yeah. There's not 50,000 people in my apartment complex.
that was hyperbole, Gordon, but you get the point. There's not many.
I do.
Yes, it's a very small town. When I went there, that was actually the first event I ever did with Flo and with Ryan Fenton. 2011 Cowboy Jamboree, I want to say. And we asked people, hey, where should you go to get a good meal? And they all recommended this place is, but I hope it's not too crowded though for you guys. And we show up at the place and it's like half full. There's just no one there. It was fine. It was great. It was just, it was not what we were expecting. I had never been to Oklahoma. Haven't been to Oklahoma since. So I went in with not much firsthand knowledge. Also, the other thing I remember, I think I flew out of Tulsa, I believe, and I was driving back by myself from Stillwater to Tulsa, and it's so flat, so incredibly flat, and I could look in front of me, and I could look at my rearview mirror, and it was probably a Sunday morning when I was driving back, and I remember I did not see a single car in front of me or behind me. Like I was the only person on this stretch of highway, and it was eerie.
How
The
fast
only
did you
other
go?
time I felt like I was in a rental car, so I didn't want to push it, and it was like Fenton's rental car, so I was just like, eh. You've driven to like West Texas. It reminded me a bit of what West Texas, and just like it's dead straight and there's nobody around at all. You could do whatever you want on the road, and there's no one there. It was very weird.
Yeah. You know who also has an interesting Stillwater story? Lincoln, our third podcaster. Maybe
is he still working for us?
I think he still works for us. Is he coming back? Come back tomorrow, maybe. But
come back to do a pod with you.
One of his first FloTrack trips was to Stillwater to cover the Cowboy Jamboree, and when he went there, Dave Smith didn't know who he was. He was a new FloTrack employee, and he's like, "What do they do here? What do they do? They send the D squad." And they called the first thing he ever said to Lincoln was call him the D squad. He's like, "Hi, nice to meet you too, Coach Smith."
Oh man, that's tough.
Flash forward.
Lincoln actually.
Yeah. Sorry.
He actually ran the race. He actually ran the race back in the day. You're going to say fast forward a few years, and now he's the C squad. Yeah, I agree. That's about right.
And one of us is the B squad, and then one of us is the A squad.
Yeah.
We need to do a tier ranking of squads.
Yeah, has Dave said anything about them giving them the opportunity to host again next year, or is it this year and that's it for sure?
Well, I think Dave was quoted in an interview saying like he's going to resubmit for future years. I think next year is supposed to be Tallahassee. I think Tallahassee's still going to get next year. I think I think what's going to happen is they're going to give it to Stillwater in one of the next 4 that they give out. You know what I mean? I bet you Stillwater and Madison are both going to be part of the next 4. I think we're going to end up rotating between like probably 5 locations moving forward, right? I could see Terre Haute, Louisville, Madison, Stillwater, and Tallahassee all just like rotating every 5. Because
can you
basically
rank them? What's
the ranking based off of?
It's based off of who you think should host. Your favorite to least favorite.
Favorite host. Ooh, favorite to least favorite.
I suppose you're asking from an athlete perspective or from a spectator perspective, right? That's what you're wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mash it all together. What's the best overall experience? Is what I'm saying. I'll go first. Madison would be my number 1. Madison would be number 1.
Yeah.
Now, I've never been to Stillwater for a national championship, so it's tough to judge them. I've never been to Tallahassee, and I've never been to the Louisville setup. I've seen Louisville on a stream. It seems difficult in terms of capturing that race with the way the course is structured. And Madison was just so awesome, and I think it's cool when you have a hometown team involved in the meet. I think it's cool for especially smaller sports. That's cool.
Yeah, I would put Madison number 1. Terre Haute is a great course and environment, but the problem is it's in the middle of Indiana, in the middle of nowhere. So it's not like, I mean, you get done with Madison and then you have like Madison downtown and you just like, it's right there, right? Louisville though has Louisville downtown, which is not bad. I'm not sure what Stillwater is. And then Tallahassee has an interesting city. I'll put Tallahassee's probably cool. And I feel like their setup would be good. I feel like Tallahassee's going to do a good job. So if I had a rank, I'll probably go. Again, I'm not ranking Stillwater because I've never been there or never seen it. So not ranking Stillwater, I would go Madison 1, Tallahassee 2, Louisville 3, Terre Haute 4.
You've been to the course at Tallahassee. How is that?
Yeah, it's not. It's like I didn't really move around much because I kind of just didn't feel like running around as like a fan. I was kind of just there. I waited at the finish line, but I imagine the course seemed interesting. I mean, there's a giant like wooded area in the middle, so I never went through the woods to see what it's like on the other side. But and I've never run the course, obviously, so I just didn't. I enjoyed myself in Tallahassee, so that's why I'm like, yeah, it was not bad. Yeah.
Am I correct in my assumption about Louisville? It's like harder to capture it from a video perspective.
Yeah, there's a lot of trees. Yeah, there's a lot of
Okay.
trees.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot
Okay.
of, there's
I
not
just
a lot
looked
of
this up.
good sight lines. Yeah.
I just looked this up. Average temperature in Tallahassee in November, high 75, low 46. That might be sneaking
That's not
pretty high
bad.
up my list because it would be nice to not go and have to wear 2 pairs of gloves. The snow in Madison was iconic, and I think that definitely swayed me. But the weather this past year in Terre Haute with the sideways rain, I know people are like
Oh,
cross country weather, and that's great, but it
no.
doesn't always have to be like that. It doesn't always have to be horrible weather.
I like to think that me and Kyle Murray were in the worst spot of all the
Oh my
people in
gosh.
Terre Haute. We like chose to stand in the place that like you just don't want to be. Like people were every fan, coach, media member, they were all in a spot where it wasn't as bad as we were. We were at the top of where it's the most wind and most like breeze of rain for the entire 2.5 hours. I was just like, me and Kyle were like frozen when we got done with that. Oh man, that was wild.
You feel as if you ran when you get done with one of
Yeah,
those meets because you and I did the pre-show together, which was an exposed spot. But I remember the weather was almost better then than when the race started, and then by then I was in the van doing commentary with Ryan and Jared Ward and Sheila Reed. And I remember opening up the door to go to the bathroom in between races, and it was horrible outside. And you guys were just chilling up there making jokes.
yeah, it was not fun.
Whose
I mean, it
idea
was
was that, by
fun,
the
but
way?
it wasn't. It was my idea. You know,
I
whatever.
think it was. I think it was Lance Harder who brought this up to me at some point, basically saying it's like, well, why do we need to have it in bad weather all the time? There's no rule that says you have to every single time. It would be, and I agree. I think it'd be nice mix it up. Doesn't mean that it needs to be in San Diego every year, but there's no reason why it needs to be miserable. Cross country is difficult enough without having to do that. So I'm willing to put Florida in the rotation there as well too. I think I think Stillwater will be cool just because I've seen that course. It's a unique course. It's also a difficult course, and they've poured a lot of money into it. And Oklahoma State being relevant, I think adds an extra dynamic as well to it too. But I like the
I,
5 set rotation.
I think, or maybe we should go crazy. Everyone's talking about winter cross country or spring cross country and moving things around
Mm-hmm.
because it's COVID and this, that, and the other thing. Let's just dismantle the whole thing and just say we're hosting NCAA cross country championships the Saturday before the Super Bowl, you know, and just hosted the Super Bowl, and that's where it is. So it's like, hey, we're having a Super Bowl in San Diego. All right, San Diego course. We'll go to Foot Locker's area. Boom. That's where cross
I
country
thought
championships is. It's Saturday. How great would it be if like we had cross country championship Saturday and then Sunday was Super Bowl? That would be fun.
I I thought you were going to say let's just do it at the Northeast Regional every year. It's in Buffalo every single year, but they're not allowed to move it to the road course around the strip mall. They have to stay on their original course where it's just mud and snow. That's it every year.
I mean, think about it. Where have the past Super Bowl hosts?
Well, they've been moving them to colder weather cities, correct? They've had one in Detroit recently, Indianapolis, Dallas.
Uh, venues.
Was it in
Where
Tampa
have?
recently?
Okay,
Maybe Arizona.
so these are the city. Let's just. Dang it. Okay, so it
Gordon's
was
Googling, by the way.
all right. New Orleans. You could probably have a good cross country meet in New Orleans, right? Do they have
Okay. I know
a good
JoJo
course
will be a
anywhere?
fan of that.
Judge will be a fan of that. Glendale, Arizona.
Mm.
That'll
Yep.
be fun. Inglewood, California. Get
Mm-hmm.
do it in Mount Sac. Boom. Tampa,
Yep.
Florida. Miami, Florida. Atlanta, Georgia. Minneapolis. Hey, have it at the Roy Griak course. Boom. Houston,
Yeah.
Texas. Hey, I'm sure Carl Lewis would love to host a cross country meet. This would be great, man. We need to do this.
Honorary starter.
We need to just connect NCAA cross country to the Super Bowl. Think about how many fans would show up. We could get
Tell them it's the
famous
fan
football
zone.
players. Yeah, but call it the fan zone. Have a big blow up thing. Get Roger Goodell to do the starting pistol. You know, we have like an autograph signing, and then the winning team gets box seats to the Super Bowl. It'll be perfect. So then the coaches have something to train for. They're like, yeah, and then we'll do a community run where it's just the sprint football squad, like the practice squad guys. They just go together and they do a nice little 10K against each other. It'd be fun. We need to do this.
Let's talk about the meet we had yesterday on our site. Sheikh Eshkavayavar hosted the Continental Tour. Gordon, what did you think of the results? I think the times across the board a bit slower than I anticipated, at least.
Yeah, starting with the sprints, right? They were very okay. I think it was the weather. The weather looked kind of cold and damp. It kind of brightened up a little bit later on, but I think most of the athletes were kind of like, all right, this isn't the day, right? This is not going to be one of those days. I think Lyles winning made sense. Irby had a good run. I was impressed with her. 22.5 back-to-back wins. Irby, I feel like, is now ready to go for 2021. Let's talk about Grant Holloway, man. What are your thoughts on that race? He's like running world record pace through 50 meters and then just like boom. I mean, I'm making up what pace he was running, but you know what I mean.
I've never in recent memory, I can't think of a hurdle race that was like that. It was a sit and kick affair almost, with Ortega coming on really hard towards the end. The first time I watched it, I said, did Holloway just get an otherworldly start, or was everybody else slow out the blocks? And I think it was Holloway's start was that good. And he slowed over the last couple hurdles, which is the same thing that happened in Monaco, and Ortega just got him there and ran 13:21 to Holloway's 13:22. I think people thought Holloway held on. The camera at the finish line was focused on him for a while before the flowers went over to Ortega. I actually think this is a good sign for Holloway. Yes, it would have been great if he would have completed the second part of that race and been able to clock something insane. But the fact that his start is so good, I think in a year with more races, i.e. next year, and he's able to clean up some stuff on the back half, I think he's gonna do something really special. As I said before, I think he's gonna set the world record next year in 2021. So even though he lost, even though it wasn't a super fast time at the end, you got to be encouraged by that start, don't you?
Yeah, and I think that is a skill set that isn't going to be universal when it comes to the starting line in 2021. And if he has a great start, you'd assume that when it comes to the Olympics, he'll be in better shape. He'll just be more in race shape. As much as these athletes are training right now, they know there's a little thing in the back of their head who knows they don't need to be in their best shape. So it's, I just think he's not in 2019 shape. He's in, hey, I'm still a freak athlete, but I'm not going. Maybe he's just going a little lighter in training the past few months than he would have been if it was an actual Olympic year. So that's what I would chalk it up to. And it's also good to lose, right? It's good to, if here's the thing, imagine he wins the world title, right? So he's like, I'm the best in the world, which he was. And then he ran he ran good indoors, right? He ran one race and Clemson dominated. Mm-hmm. But imagine if he wins these slower races by 0.01, right? Your confidence level will be like, hey, even at my worst, I'm the best, right? And then you can just mentally kind of shortcut your way through a year. And I think him losing these races that don't matter, help motivate you. It's good to lose the races that don't matter because it's a way to kind of,
life
it's
advice from Gordon.
It's a the moral victory. This is a moral loss, whatever. You just need it to kind of energize you for the next year. When you keep winning all the time, you kind of lose that passion.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of a Coleman versus Lyles 100 when we saw those. And one person was an exceptional starter and the other one was an exceptional closer. Or even just any early Coleman race before he had that back half figured out. and he'd get out to this amazing start, and then the gap would shrink dramatically over the back half. Sometimes he would hold on, and sometimes he would get caught at the line. That's what it looked like to me. And obviously Coleman got that second part of his race together very well in 2019. I think Holloway can do the same thing. It would be fun to line those up, that race with his 1298 race at NCAAs, and just see, was his start actually better? I'm sure his coach has, all the splits about how quickly he gets to hurdle 1, 2, and 3, but it's hard to compare because he left the field so quickly behind, and in the NCAA race he had Daniel Roberts right there, but it sure looked like one of the better starts of his career. So I think at the very least he can take that with him.
Yeah. Then
Irby though, you brought up
Irby.
Irby. I think that was the performance of the meet for me. And like in terms of what it means, in terms of what it means going forward, because as you mentioned, she got the win in Monaco, which time kind of irrelevant this year. Just get wins, start building confidence. And in this 200, she beats Daphne Shippers, who hasn't been that sharp lately, but it's still a win over somebody who has gold medals and very fast times. She beats Kambuji, who was the bronze medalist in the 200 last year. This is Irby's second best event, and she's still running with the best in the world. If there's 2 events next year that are somewhat open on the women's side of things in the United States to make the Olympic team, is the 400 and the 200. And she's asserting herself in this off year, in this strange year, as someone who could make it in either one of those. And someone that young, I just think the winning's got to feel good for her. So I think in terms of what it means going forward, that Irby 200 was the most significant performance. I put it right up there with obviously with Holloway's start.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Irby's looking good, going 2 for 2 on this little mini Euro trip. I'm not sure if she's still going forward with other races. I'm not sure, because I know Lyles said this was his final meet, shutting it down. This would be interesting if she enters in any of the remaining Diamond Leagues, try to maybe lower her 400-meter time to something a little more closer to her 50 flat. What were your thoughts on Donavan Brazier's 600, but more importantly, running the entire thing in the lane?
I don't know who decided that it was a good idea to run it in lanes, but I think that ruined any opportunity at a fast time. He's already out of his element because everybody's out of their element running a 600 because nobody runs 600s. And then you put all these runners who are 800 runners primarily into a lane race where they're not comfortable at all. And not only a lane race, but a 3-turn stagger lane race, which absolutely nobody is accustomed to doing. I was watching this race, Gordon. Within 200 meters, you're like, this is off. Something's off. He's not going as quickly as he can, because typically it's you go around one curve and then it's a mad dash to get to the pole. And that's what gets the pace going in an 800. Yeah. And that's what you especially need in a 600 because it's even shorter. So I don't know why this decision was made. If this was a record attempt and you're worried about too many people, cut 1 or 2 people from the start list. I went back and watched Rudisha's 2016 600 where him and Boss went 1-2 and ran the second and third fastest times all times. They cut right in after that first curve. 600-meter indoor races aren't run in staggers the whole way around. I don't know why this was done, but I think it ruined any opportunity he would have had at a fast time.
Yeah, there was part of me thinking, like, are they supposed to cut in? Like, all right, maybe it's a 2-turn. They'll cut in. I was like, maybe they'll cut in after the second turn. And I was like, wait, no, they're still not cutting in. And, it does so many mental gymnastics to your mind because you don't really know where the 200-meter split is. You don't know where your 400-meter split is, right? Because where you start,
you don't know where competition is.
Yeah, you don't know where competition is. I mean, I guess Donovan saw Wesley ahead of him, but still, you're like, you're just an 800-meter runner is not visually understanding like stagger distance. Like a 400-meter runner knows like someone who's within reach when they enter a turn and someone who's not within reach when they enter a turn. Like, because they visually or know what that 10 meters or 5 meters look like. Donovan's not thinking about that. Yeah, I think he would have ran much faster if it was a 1-turn stagger. Just run it like an 800-meter stagger, right? Just start at the 200-meter line. That's what they should have done. And then just like go and then cut in. But, 115, yeah, they went out 48. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just wish it could have been set up. He's so good, man. Like, he has the ability to run in the 113s, maybe even the 112s. He clearly did it indoors, but it just wasn't meant to be, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, 112.64 was what he was going to run because that was my prediction, but that was a non-3-turn stagger prediction. You said there 400-meter runners have a better idea at gauging the distance, which is true because they're used to doing it, but they're used to doing it on 2. Think about trying to gauge it for this was a 4x4 stagger, correct? This was literally a 3. It's a massive distance.
It wasn't a 4x4 stagger. It was farther than that because, it was a 4x4 stagger. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because they'd cut in on the last one. Yeah, but so it was 3 turns. But we were talking. Was it a couple of days ago? We were talking about how hard it is to figure out how we can't, when we're watching, figure out. So imagine as you're running, trying to figure out how far back you are. And 800-meter runners, a lot of that is in keying off of where other people are. And the way Wesley Vasquez ran in this race, because Brazier had to push to catch him in the end, and he caught him. But the way Vasquez ran in this race, I think Vasquez would have gone to the front early. And I think he would have served as the perfect catalyst for a fast time. I just think this was such a wasted opportunity. And I want to know ahead of time. Did Brazier know this? Did Brazier know that there was going to be a stagger when he agreed to do this race? I saw an interview where he said he wasn't even aware really of the world record. He just signed up and to run this race. And then someone asked him about it. He said, oh, okay, well, 112. Okay, I ran 113 indoors. Maybe that's a possibility. But I want to know if they asked him, hey,
classic CTW athletes,
Yeah, I'm not quoting him there. I don't know exactly what he said. All I saw was that he didn't even think about. He wasn't circling this on the calendar and saying world record attempt on August 19th. But I want to know in any of that pre-race discussion, did anybody go up to him and say, "Hey, how comfortable are you with running in a lane?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm good with lanes." Like for the first turn, no, for an entire 600 meters. Because I think if they wanted to help him out, they should have put him in 1. If you're going to have to run in lanes, just put him in 1.
Yeah.
So you can look out at everybody, see everybody the entire way around, and then you can get accurate splits all the way around. Don't put them in, was it 4 or 5 or something? Made no sense at all.
It was visually not pleasing to watch. It was the most unpleasing race to watch because you're like, what am I? Yeah, it just was not fun to watch. Man, what could have been? What could have been? You know what I was also thinking about? We keep on
Johnny
thinking
Gray
that
lives to see another day.
Yeah,
that record is never going to go down.
Donovan would think Donovan is like the perfect specimen for breaking this record. And you know what I was thinking? Who might be the best person to break this record?
I know where you're going with this.
No, it's an American.
Yes, I saw it. I know. I saw it on Instagram. It's Isaiah Harris.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going Isaiah Harris because he did run a lot of 4x4s and ran some really fast splits.
Do you know who's running some even faster splits? So splits that are like all-time great splits.
In the 4x4?
Mm-hmm.
Ry Benjamin?
Nope. 800-meter runner who is really good in the 4x4.
We're talking about men's American?
Men. He kind of has a connection to Brazier.
Oh, Devin Dixon?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Like the Michael Norman 4x4 split, right?
Yeah.
Devin Dixon splits like 43 low on that. Like Devin Dixon is a fast 400-meter runner. Like Devin is faster in the 400 than Donovan ever was or ever will be, in my opinion. Like Devin is like legit 400-meter runner. And Devin's 145 guy right now, 144 maybe. I think Devin Dixon actually might be the one who's closest to the 600, right? Because he has speed. Like Devin can run backwards 47 flat or 46 high. Like he can just do it backwards.
How's he in lanes? Because my theory is now this record is cursed. No one is going to break this record ever. We've been talking about it for so long. There is always something. You get Rudisha when he's not in his prime. You have this weird lane thing. The guy ran 113 indoors, 112. He should have been able to do it. They put him in lanes.
Or what
right,
we need to do is I think Devin, if we had an Isaiah Harris, Devin Dixon, Donavan Brazier, and Emmanuel Courier.
There it is. Put it on the board.
There we go. That would be, they would all run like 111, man. They would light it up. And it's not even it's a waterfall start, so make them really go for it. They really got to sprint.
Yeah. Dude,
waterfall start that.
Throw Vasquez in there, throw Nigel Amos in there if we want to add people to it. Let's do that. Let's make it a 2-heat final. And then that way no one's messing around. No. Throw everybody in there.
Screw it. Let's make it more than just – let's make it rounds. Let's make them have to qualify for the final. Make them earn it.
Yeah.
We need to throw down – we need to have an official 600-meter national world championship presented by, what's like a random sponsor that could sponsor a 600 meters championship? Red Bull or something like that.
There you go. So 115. I don't think Brazier's going to go through much slower when he runs the 800 in Stockholm. Do you?
I bet you he'll go through. He might go through faster. Yeah. That's actually interesting to see. What was his 600 meter split in Monaco?
I'm not sure. I know the Rhodesia world record split was 114 low, so that's I'd use that.
I mean, what does a 115? What does a 115 convert to if you were to just keep that pace?
Oh, 115, you're going to get in the 141s. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
115.01?
You close with the 26 then, right? If you go 115 flat, if you close with the 26, then you're at 141 flat.
I guess 115 is 140. Yeah. Because 25s. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was assuming some natural slowdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I think he definitely could go through it something like 116. That's certainly on the table. I don't know. I'll leave that for you and Lincoln to discuss tomorrow on the Return of Lincoln podcast. You'll also talk about the Sunset Tour as well, I'm assuming, which is coming up on Saturday, live on FloTrack. You excited to pod again with Lincoln?
I don't know. Does he look different? Does he have like a beard or something?
No, he looked exactly the same. He was sharp. He came out sharp, I got to say. Now, no one's ever going to hear this podcast because, again, technical difficulties. So Lincoln and I talked for 40 minutes. Alon heard it, so he knows how good it was. But nobody else did. He came out pretty sharp, but no beard. His house looks the same. Didn't really look that tired, so I think he's fine. I think he'll be good.
I feel like he misses talking about track because he like on his own. He's on his own, wrote that Monaco recap like a week after it happened. I was like, dude, no one's talking about Monaco right now. He's like, I am, man. I just got out of the cave of parenthood. I'm going to write a recap a week later.
He did say something funny that won't see the light of day that I'll bring up now. We were talking about Joshua Cheptegei setting the world record. And he said, maybe I've been out of it, but I was really blown away by him running 12:35. And I said, Lincoln, nothing that happened in the last 14 days with Joshua Cheptegei changed. There wasn't some secret Joshua Cheptegei info that happened when your daughter was born and you missed it. We all were shocked. We all did not see that coming.
But we potentially talked ourselves into it the day before.
Yeah.
So we almost.
I made a little chart after that. I never posted it, but I made a little chart, just the comparison between 04 Bekele and 2020 Cheptegei. And it would have, if we caught on to that a day earlier, I think we would have been smart. We just missed it. That could have been a whole article. That could have been a whole post, and we would have seemed like geniuses.
That could have been us buying. That could have been us buying Google stock in like 1997.
Yeah. You go down the line, man. The PR outdoors, the weird PR for Bekele, the indoor one, for Cheptegei, the road one. Their 10K PRs going into the year were 1 second apart, 26:48, 26:49. They both had a World Cross medal. They both had one 10K medal. It was eerie. It was absolutely eerie when I put it actually down in chart form. And you love charts too, so I think you would have signed off on this thing.
Is it as eerie as when the Toronto Raptors went down 0-2 to Milwaukee and then came back and won 4-0? the same way that the Sixers are down 0-2 to Boston? Like, is it that eerie?
Yeah. There's been a lot. I don't know why you're so down on the idea of an 0-2 comeback. They happen all the time. That's not. There seems to be one every playoffs, doesn't there?
You should see my timeline, man. You should see my timeline. It is full of just depression, and it's not fun to read. That's the worst thing. It's like, sports fandom, man. We need to get rid of that.
I'll leave you with this bit of optimism. It's not optimism. It's more fatalism. But do you think you'd enjoy it more if they got knocked out? Like, you'd be mad for a round, but wouldn't you tune back in for the conference finals and the championship and be like, I can enjoy this without getting angry?
No, because even no, I kind of didn't really watch much of it last year after the Sixers got eliminated. It's just like, I don't want to remind myself of, like, especially when you see a team that you lost to still in it, you're kind of like,
yeah,
it's like a weird thing too. You want the team that you lost to, like, you don't want to see, you want them to also lose, right? Because you're like, oh, you beat us and screwed us over. We want you to lose. But then you also want them to win, because then the more they win, it shows that your loss was more justified. So it's like this weird thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I just joined Dub Nation after the Spurs loss. I'm just like, I'm all in on the Warriors, man. They just shoot a bunch of threes. Steph Curry just throws it up from anywhere. You could be a Warriors fan. You could convert. They're going to be pretty good next year. Get that number one pick. Wait to see what happens with the lottery. Wait to see what happens with the lottery, though. The games are on late at night. They scored a gajillion points. I don't know. It might fit you. It might be less stressful. It just feels really stressful being a Philadelphia sports fan, because you guys always think you're the best and you never are. It's just very weird.
Hey, Eagles were the best 2 years ago.
That's true. Shout out to the Eagles.
The Phillies were the best, like, over a decade ago.
I was speaking more basketball-wise.
Hey, the Sixers were the best, like, 30 years ago.
Good old
Flyers, baby. I'm going all in on the Flyers now, even though they're only up 3-2 now. But they're the number one seed in the East, so you got to keep it going. Let's go, Flyer Nation.
Good luck. Well, this is a hockey podcast.
Hockey podcast.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks to Alon for producing. Thanks to Gordon. You guys get to see Lincoln tomorrow, or hear Lincoln tomorrow at flotrack.org/FloTrack podcast, where you can check out all the old episodes. Subscribe on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. We will see you then.